Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Developer Experience Office Hours here on OpenShift TV. I am Chris Short, executive producer of OpenShift TV, and I am joined by two of my favorite Red Hatters, Serena from the future and Ryan Jarvinen. I think Ryan is kicking things off today. So, Ryan, let us know who you are. What do you do? Who is your daddy? And what do they do?
Hey, I'm Ryan Jarvinen from the Red Hat OpenShift developer team, a developer advocate team. And what I wanted to show today was code-ready containers running on Fedora Silverblue. And if you're not aware of Fedora Silverblue, that's our kind of container-based, container-centric desktop distribution. And so this is kind of an interesting use case because typically you try to run everything as containers on Silverblue. So in this case, we're going to need to run a VM, and so it requires a couple little hacks. But anyway, we'll see how it goes.
All right, here we go. So Ryan has some slides prepared for us. I'm going to drop those in chat. And you're going to start telling us, well, I mean, first off, Fedora Silverblue is immutable, supposedly, right? Like, how do you manage like just day-to-day updates with like apps, right? Like, that's my first question. Like, Zoom updates itself like at least twice a week. So like, how would I manage that,
Yeah, actually, some of it is pretty slick. If it's apps that are stored as containers,
right?
those you basically can just pull new images and exec into flip into those run the new images when they're ready. I could probably show some of this. There's kind of
I don't want to throw you too far off track, but
yeah. There's like a nice app store that you can click on these updates here. See, software is not responding. Anyway, I guess we'll skip the update preview on this. But typically you could just kind of run this. It's just like running updates on Apple or other systems like that. The trickier piece is when you're updating parts of the host OS that are basically part of Silverblue, part of that distribution. That's all saved as like a big kind of like OS tree revision history. And so, that's kind of immutable. And so for that piece, anytime you get an update, you have to do a reboot. And so I was really hoping they would have implemented something to try to I heard there was support in the kernel for basically, since it's always backwards compatible, being able to do some kind of in-memory swap. I know that's like probably super risky and not really safe to do, but doing some type of like switcheroo of kernels in memory in order to do some of these upgrades without a reboot, but I haven't heard really any news on that.
Yeah, that would be cool. But also, like you mentioned, that would be
probably
define physics, maybe. I don't know the right way to describe that, right? Like, you're going to keep your OS running, but you're going to swap out everything underneath it without rebooting. That's basically called a reboot.
Well, I think I forget what it was like. I don't remember the details around that particular fiasco.
Particular fiasco. Awesome.
So let's see. I have a link that I shortened to a bit.ly here. If you're interested in following along with the slide deck I have, you can take a look at that bit.ly/crc-silver. One other thing I had, let me see if I could find this notes doc. We had a notes doc with some past topics we've had on the channel and some responses from our survey. And I wish I had the keyboard flexibility to be able to look up survey responses and also not drop my demo that's like ready to run. But I don't know if I can look up our survey responses right now. Let's see if I could find. Actually, here's
I
a link.
Can try and pull it up.
I have a link to the survey that we can put in chat. Yes. And if anyone's interested in submitting topics that they would like to see on the show, we are definitely interested in hearing from you and making sure we're showcasing stuff that's content that's interesting and compelling. I know Serena's got some cool, I think a couple previews for OpenShift 4.8 ready for later in the show. Serena, did you have any?
I do. Yeah, I have a couple
announcements
things
you want to make for that?
Yeah, I definitely had a couple of things I wanted to show. We have in the works kind of open PRs that are up that people have already actually started implementing. We've got a very cool drag and drop from your desktop a fat jar directly into topology, which is kind of fun. Yeah. It's one of the things that we think is going to be a nice addition to the product. So I can't necessarily walk through it inside of OpenShift, but I can share some screenshots of what it's looking like today. And there's a couple of other minor updates that we have in 4.8 that I was going to also discuss. Ryan, if you need a few more minutes, I could also talk about the developer research that we're doing. Is that a good time for me to do it now, or do you think you're ready to go over there?
I am ready to roll. I can get started on Perfect. The demo, and yeah, I could definitely get the ball rolling over here. So let's see. The slides, hopefully you can see the slides here. I'm going to try to do a share desktop.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is on Silverblue using Zoom that's running, I believe, in a container.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see if the UI will appear. So far, I just kind of see a blur. Maybe that's because I can't share. Yeah, it's like not rendering the stuff, possibly because I have it connected to an external display. Let me unplug that display, see if I can do share desktop. I tested this yesterday.
Yeah, I imagine disconnected, it would work fine. There, Serena's back. But
that was me. Sorry.
I was about to say, yay, it works. No, it's just
I jumped into his house somehow.
Yeah, Zoom's not responding. Force quit. All right.
Well, there we go. People
are
going to
try to rejoin
setup,
on this machine.
Yeah.
I was joined from a second machine. All right.
You need to link.
Let's try it again. I did test this and it did work. I am going to join.
Work live.
Yeah, right. Did it work live? Okay. All right. Let's do share screen. Desktop. Share.
Working. There we go. All right.
All right. Hopefully you see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do.
See your slides. Looks like a browser
and some other stuff. All right. Let's see if I can. The full screen button there. All right.
All right.
So we talked about Silverblue briefly. I am not going to do a full install. This is a Silverblue machine that I have already set up. You can get your own copy of the Silverblue system image on silverblue.fedoraproject.org/download.
Nice.
Okay, and let's see. All right, can you still see everything? Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Next step, you'd create a USB. I had to disable secure boot in my system BIOS on this particular laptop. You boot from the USB you burn, do some partitioning, and then after your first run, you're going to run these two commands. RPM OS tree update is the first thing you'd run. Mm-hmm. And that can basically just update all the base OS, and then you'll run systemctl reboot to restart system D. After that, there's a couple other things that you're going to want to install. So I ran rpm os tree install qemu, libvert, and vert manager. Let me see. I think I have a terminal here. I'll rerun that just so you can kind of see what that interaction will look like. Yeah, says I've already requested these, so it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Next steps.
I'm already up to date. Sorry, buddy.
yeah, already up to date. This is what the typical update might look like. And see, it's checking out some hash. And I'll probably, no upgrade available at the end. So I did an OS tree install of these additional OS packages that are installed into the base OS. You could then potentially do a OS tree revert and then reboot into your old version where you didn't have these packages, but I don't really use that revision history very much. Let's see. Next is adding your user to the libvert D group. So this isn't here by default. You've got to run sudo group add libvert D and then run this user mod command. At the end, you should be able to verify using this groups who am I, and I could see that I'm part of the libvert D group here. So
now, why is it necessary? Just to be able to control the VMs on the box, or is there more to it?
Yeah, it's kind of like being in the Docker group. Okay. In order to be able to access the Docker daemon. I usually have my laptop set up where I am not in the Docker group, and then I need to run sudo something in order to actually run containers. But for this one, I needed to add myself to the libvert D group to get this to work.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
I don't know how to dismiss that pop-up. Okay, download the latest CRC release. So this, I was actually going to run through this step here. Log in with a Red Hat account.
That window is horrifically small, by the way.
Yeah, let's see if we can bump up the font there.
Quarter of your screen. There you go.
Okay, then you can pick, choose your OS. For my use case, I'll pick Linux, hit download. And you're also going to want to make a copy of this pull secret. I'm going to download that and save it as a file.
Good call. Always save your pull secret somewhere. Safe, by the way.
Yeah, let's see how this download's doing. I do have a copy of this all ready to go that I ran last night. So I might just jump ahead and extract that one instead. But I wanted to give you a look at how you can go through and just pull down this new binary of CRC. There's a new release as of last week. We have CRC version 123.1. So yeah, remember to get that CRC pull secret. You're going to need it in a couple steps later. So next deal I have, get into your downloads folder. At least that was my, that was my default. I'm already in the downloads. All right. And I'm going to want to extract the XV. So I found the flags for this. This is a XZ encoded tarball that we're going to be downloading.
That's some good compression.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. XC. I'm just going to copy the backup I have. I have a CRC Linux AMD 64. Okay. All right, there we go. Now I can run each of these. Actually, this is going to end up. Get rid of that one. Okay. So I'll extract the tarball. Next step I do is I like to have underneath my home folder a little bin for my personal binaries that I'm downloading.
Totally makes sense.
Especially if you're in like a container-based OS, you might not have access to user local bin, or user local bin may get rewritten during an update, or I don't know. This may be a portable pattern you can use on any OS, is put stuff into home bin. So I already have that directory created. So I'm just going to move the binary right on over into my bin, and then I should be able to do CRC version and see that it looks like now I have code ready containers version 123. I still have an old version. Oh, this is OpenShift 4.7. I think I still have an older version on my box. So I'm going to do CRC delete to delete my old OS image.
Okay.
Or my old
CRC
CRC cluster.
Yeah.
Next step is run CRC setup. I think there's a config bit you can set for this. Like, would you like to contribute statistics? I saw something in this here in the follow-up instructions. Here's I think it's maybe in getting started guide.
I'm looking for it.
Installing code ready. There was something in the docs about setting some config. You can run like CRC config set.
Config set enable dash cluster monitoring true or monitoring false.
Yeah. If you don't want to have to answer this interactively every time, you can set that config value. And I answered T. It said yes or no, and I said T.
Hey, good job. Nice. Let me link everybody to the docs for telemetry enabling, disabling. There we go.
Okay, so this is the part checking to see if Libvert is installed. Failed to add user to Libvert group. I'm already in the I'm in Libvert D. Okay. Oh, maybe something changed. Let's see. So I'm in the Libvert D group, and now it's saying that it wants me in the Libvert group. Interesting.
Wonder, was there?
Let me rerun. I can add myself to the Libvert group. That's no problem. I basically had that in the steps earlier.
I think it's Libvert D on like the main Fedora OS. Might be different for Silverblue. I don't know. Let's see.
Libvert does not exist. Oh, super interesting. Well, it looks like CRC just broke with the latest release. So what I did was I actually did a practice run of this using an older CRC binary last night. And I know if you're using a previous release of CRC, this will boot up when you're in the Libvert D group. And it all just works. I did do a RPM OS tree update last night to get me all updated to the latest. So I probably should have avoided that particular demo step. And risked changing my base environment, right? But also this is interesting. It's looking like you need to be part of a different group on boot up, and the setup's having some kind of trouble.
It is Libvert on my Fedora box behind me here. So there's no D in the group name, by the way.
I didn't do this sudo group add. Let me try this. Group Libvert already exists.
Okay, so you just add yourself to Libvert, not Libvert D.
I thought I just ran that. Should be this one. Group Libvert does not exist.
What? Come on.
Weird. I wonder if I need to do like a reboot on the machine or something. I don't know. I already did an update and a reboot last night to try to
just do an ID on yourself.
Have everything. Groups 1001 is Libvert D.
I don't see a Libvert, so I wonder. Yeah, like that's weird.
Yeah. This one doesn't have, there's no Libvert group according to Etsy group.
Huh. Well, maybe just create it.
That's what I did.
Supposedly.
Here, group add Libvert.
Libvert.
It says Libvert already exists.
But it's not in Etsy groups. Maybe you do have to reboot.
Yeah. Weird.
That's weird.
All right.
That is very weird. Well,
I might need to tag with Serena as I do this reboot and then rejoin the. I'm probably going to wait and see if I can run Crc Setup. I wonder if I can just Crc start. I'm just going to skip to start and see if it'll run since it.
Whoa, did we lose Ryan?
Sounds like we lost his audio.
Oh, sorry.
No, there he is.
There you go.
There he is.
Yeah, start won't run unless I can do setup to extract the bundle. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to restart this machine and see if I can salvage this demo.
Always something. Always something. I swear.
Man.
All right.
Bummer. I thought for sure this worked with previous releases of CRC. So we'll figure out whether I can figure this out by the end of the show or not.
It's fun. All right, Serena.
No worries. All right. So the first thing I want to just chat about is we're doing some research on developers and we want to know more about you. So I know we did like a huge developer survey that we had shared out maybe a month ago, some of the results that we had, but now we literally have like I think it's 11 questions, very quick 5-minute survey. Love to have you all take it if you have the time. Doesn't matter who you work for, what you do, etc. As long as you are a developer, we'd love to see you take that survey. And we're trying to, again, learn more about how do you work.
Yeah. What is your workflow
that
like?
Type of things. Yeah. Exactly. Regardless if it's with OpenShift tools or not, there's one specific question I think around that, maybe another one around Kubernetes, but just trying to get an understanding of more about you. So we'd love to see if you could help us with that. In addition to that, do we want me to start talking about the future, which is my favorite topic?
Well, yes, but before you do, I'd like to point out that there is a What's Next briefing this week as well at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday, where you can hear a lot more about what Serena's about to talk about. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's see. I am going to try to share my screen. And let me know if you are seeing my
I've got a wonderful
OpenShift
developer console here. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So actually, so the first thing that I am going to talk about, and this is just like super minor. Today, when we go into, if we create a brand new project today, and we come into it, what happens by default is we are brought to the empty state is literally the add page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that allows us, the users, to be able to come in and look to see what we have to offer. So it's a discoverability mechanism, which allows us to see what's available, and then start from there. So, which was great before, but now what we have done inside of topology, I'm going to go back into another project, is we have different ways to utilize things, right? We have the add to project menu. You can start with that by default. I am running a development area. So you can see we got a little bug where it's popping, the options are popping up all the way on the left, but you can quickly start that way. I think I showed this to you all before, where if you wanted to get started by searching something from the catalog, this is a feature that we have in 4.7. But again, I guess what I'm getting to is the fact that you can start directly in topology without having to go to that add page. So in the future, what we are doing is we will have that empty state of our topology view to say that there's no resources here. You can either start building your application, which will literally bring this up for you, or we will allow you to have a link to go back to the add page. And again, the methodology around like making this decision was for people who have been in the console before. They probably don't need to always go back to that add page. They probably have shortcuts that they want to do. So that was one reason. The other reason is around the fact that we are going to be providing this new feature where you can upload your own jar file.
This is cool.
So yes, this is really cool. And I don't have the demo. There's a PR up. And let's see, I'm going to just try to go through some of these images. Right now, what we have is on our add page, we're going to be adding an uploaded jar file tile. That's one thing. But in addition to that, you'll also be able to, where did I go? You'll also be able to drag and drop that. I don't know what just happened. Give me 1 second. Okay. You'll also be able to drag and drop directly onto the topology view. When you do the drag and drop from your fat jar onto the topology view, what will happen is a form will show up saying upload a jar file. That jar file name will already be in there by default. As with all of our other forms, we'll have everything kind of provided. We'll have default values in there. So if you want, you can immediately hit the create button. And then once you hit the create button, you'll see toast notifications saying that the jar file is uploading. We also will have a quick link to be able to view those build logs if you'd like to. One of the reasons that we are putting that toast notification is in there is that if you leave OpenShift, I don't mean switch browsers, but if you literally get rid of, shut down OpenShift, log out, or close down that browser window, that upload will not continue. So that's one of the reasons that we have that notification there.
Good point.
Once that's done, you'll literally see that deployment or deployment config or Knative service, depending on how you decided to choose that resource type. You'll see that come up immediately. And then once that build is complete, it will be ready for your consumption. So it's like a really cool thing for us to do. We're currently we've been in the process of, or we've been in the space of importing code from Git, or allowing you to go into the developer catalog or deploy a container image. Now what we're doing is starting to look at ways that we can bring in code that's literally on your local machine to make it easier to test things before it might get into Git, right? So this is an exciting feature, and we're looking forward to see this one come to fruition. There's a couple of other, I'm trying to see what is this? Oh, this is what happens if you try to leave there. We are kind of capturing that as well, just to make sure that you know what's going on.
That's good.
So that is one
I would hate
thing.
my upload to like fail and then come back to it and be like, where to go?
What happened? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm talking about a few of the 3.x parity issues or parity problems. So there's a few things that are in 3.x, which we do not support yet in 4. So a couple of those, or many of those, are really around having form-based edits rather than forcing people to go to YAML. Another one that we had just gotten an RFE about was the ability to do a rollback. So this is a 3.x cluster. If I go into this deployment, what I can see here is I've got multiple deployments. If I look at one of the older ones, there was a button here that allowed you to click on it and say rollback, had a couple of checkboxes and allowed you to immediately roll back that deployment if you found a problem. Of course, depending on if you're utilizing a GitOps model or not and doing some testing beforehand, maybe this isn't necessary in many people's environments, but it is necessary for many of our customers as well. So this is something that we have just looked at and we are going to be implementing. There's a PR again available to this. So what we're doing first is we're making this change available for deployment configs. And then in a subsequent release, we'll put it in for deployments as well. So associated with the replication controller, if you have a replication that's a controller that's not active, you'd have the rollback action or CTA on it. And when you click on it, it would have the rollback form. It's exactly the same functionality as we had in 3.x. Just kind of in a different area because our console is a little bit different and the flow is a bit different, but we are now going to be providing that capability. This is a bug fix that we think is going to be getting into 4.8, and possibly, we're not sure if it will land anywhere else, previous, but that's where we're at right now with that one. So that's kind of an exciting feature for people who are waiting for it. And then the other thing I wanted to show was the fact that we are going to have edit deployment and edit deployment config via a form.
Nice.
So this is a Marvel flow. So I'm going to try to walk through this today. What happens when you hit edit deployment, and I can show you this directly, is if I click here and say edit deployment, it forces me into a YAML view. Now, for lots of people who are comfortable with YAML, that's awesome. For people who are not, this is very frustrating.
Right. Right.
So we've, again, this is the design work, and we've got some development going on right now to match this, but we'll have an edit deployment config and edit deployment form that you can switch back and forth from form to YAML, right? So that's kind of one of our new conventions that we're trying to do inside of the console, is allow you to switch back and forth from forms to YAML. And again, thinking even more in the future, one of the things we'd love to do is have user preferences that says, what's your preference? Would you always rather see YAML or always rather see forms by default?
Nice.
So it's something where, again, like, one of those nice to haves for user experience would be really nice to see.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So here's the So here's the form. What, from the designer's perspective, Bree had done the design and did a great job with trying to have a lot of features and functionality available, but also kind of hiding some of those advanced options. So you can see like there's a show additional parameters and lifecycle hooks, but it's under progressive disclosure. So if you click on that, it will open additional information. Then you can add those lifecycle hooks if you'd like to. We also have advanced container options that if you select, you have the availability to add the environment variables. And then with the advanced image options, you can also, I'm having a hard time seeing some of this. You can also define your pull secret as well as create a new one on the fly, and you can pause your rollouts as part of an advanced option. So again, we think that this is, again, a nice addition for the user experience for those form-based edits. And these are right now targeted to 4.8, whether, not confirmed, but targeted for 4.8. And then the next one that we would be doing in the future would be edit for the build configs. Because that's another one that is a gap from a form-based edit from 3.x that we have been getting requests on.
So yeah, this is interesting, right? Like I remember it was a few years ago. I think it was Joe Beta, but it was one of the creators of Kubernetes said that they were surprised at how many people are actually editing YAML. Like that was not their intention when they built Kubernetes, was to have folks manually mucking around with YAML. And yet here we are manually mucking around with YAML. This allows us to not muck around with YAML, right? And fulfills that kind of, thought that everybody, or not everybody, but the creators of Kubernetes had originally, was that people editing YAML would be odd, right? Like there'd be an API to handle something like that. And this creates that, nice interface for you, which is very cool.
Yeah, and I think what we found is that, and again, plug for the survey, of course, what we found is that oftentimes many of our developers don't necessarily understand, and that's the whole premise of the developer perspective, right? They don't necessarily, many of our developers don't necessarily understand the innards of OpenShift or Kubernetes, and they want that kind of seamless experience kind of abstracted away from that. So we're slowly getting to those gaps where we were still having some of those YAML based edit flows. So this should definitely make their lives much better. I think I'm going to just go back to Ryan and just do a double check here as far as where he's at. And if he's ready to go back to his demo.
You live, Ryan?
Or are we still waiting?
Oh man, you know what? I have completely hosed this environment over here. It's really in a weird state. It thinks that there is a Libvert group and a Libvert D group. I tried removing them. I tried adding them. I think I'm gonna have to take a pass on this particular deal. I can show as a consolation prize. I can do boot up CRC on my Apple machine. That does work. I have tested that many times in the last there's even a nice, let me see, risk doing screen share here. Let's share this desktop. Okay. All right, here, get rid of this display stuff. So there's even on Apple, they have a little widget or
I didn't realize that
deal up here you can click on.
Nice.
And you can do start cluster right from this menu. There's also work on an installer package so that you don't have to click on you're about to run some random binary from the internet that might be malware, and we don't know the author of this. Like, we have properly signed packages. I don't know if they're available currently on the download site though. But that, if you get those signed packages with the installer, that's how you end up with this kind of menu integration up here. But I don't know if this may be like a kind of a hidden feature that isn't is only available if you know where to get the build server access or something. Let me grab a terminal. And I'll run, let's do a CRC status. See what I have going on currently. I already have it up and running.
There you go.
CRC version, looks like I've got code ready containers version 123 with OpenShift version 4.7. And CRC console will pop open a web browser with my console running.
Are you doing your screen share
from this same,
Yes,
yeah. That's why if my
Okay.
video's getting choppy right now, or my audio, it's because
Yeah.
I'm also I'm
Right.
running code ready containers in the background. So this may take a little while to load. On your first load, you may have to accept the self-signed certificate warnings, but then you can log in with developer, and that should let you into the basic developer account. When you first run CRC start on the command line, you should see some admin credentials printed in the output. So that's make sure to make note of those when you run your CRC start. You're also going to want to do CRC start -p and then do documents, pull secret, or wherever you ended up saving that deal. This command worked on my Silverblue machine last time I ran it correctly. Worked as of last night before I upgraded to the latest CRC. So I don't think Silverblue is part of their normal test coverage. So I'm kind of not surprised that it has had an issue that maybe folks doing the maintenance aren't fully aware of. But here's our dashboard here, and I already have the terminal installed as well, web terminal operator. Let's see if I can increase the font here.
Interesting. So 2 things. Adam Kaplan is in watching us right now and in chat. He says there's still an open issue for the Libvert group in Silverblue. So apparently,
interesting
bug. He dropped the link in chat there, and then
all right.
Jay Philman said what would be cool is if the web console allowed a user to specify a Git repo and its creds to be used as a console save destination so that you stay in the console but follow a GitOps workflow. I think we can do that, can't we, Serena? Or is it per project based? Or
so.
I forget.
Yes, it depends on like which way you're talking about. Some of the use cases we do, right? So like if you put a webhook in, yes, we can, and associated with a pipeline, it will be able to update based on every commit. But I think what Jay Philman is saying, but I'm not sure, because we do have something in our backlog in the console around saying we should allow authorization to GitHub with a repo as well as your credentials, so that you can then, every time you do anything inside the console, you'd essentially be able to say export, like put my code back into Git based on the changes that I've just made in OpenShift.
Nice.
We don't currently support that way, right? We have the ability to, based on changes in Git, to pull them back to redeploy, but we don't have the ability to say, based on my changes that I'm making in the console today, let me export those into Git or push them into Git. And I think that's what Jay Philman's asking for, if I read it right, but I could be wrong. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that is definitely something that we have been talking about quite a bit in the last couple of weeks as we're going through our planning process for the next quarter or two. So stay tuned to see where that goes in the future.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, sorry I had a trouble with the Silverblue system. Man, I thought I had like a nice little hack put together for y'all. But then I did the risky move and decided I was going to upgrade from one version of CRC to a new one. And I guess the newer one does hit this underlying bug in Silverblue that might be impacting basically any Libvert D use case.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Sorry, I just took over screen sharing because you stopped. So I figure we still have about 10 minutes left. So I'll go to one more thing that we're talking about that we're doing in 4.8. Currently, again, this is 4.7. This is what our ad page looks like. So it's very tile based. Some of the things that we've kind of heard is that why do we have a catalog here, but then when you go into the developer catalog, you have another catalog, right? So our ad page really isn't a catalog per se. So we have had some design work. Hopefully I'm going to go right to the right one. There we go. Around some improvements here. And we've had a couple of designers working on this. And I think Ryan and Chris, you guys have both been able to give some feedback to this page. But so the ad page will now, and this is not finalized, but it's more card based. So we're going to have this kind of getting started card up at the top, which will allow us to, for a novice, to quickly be able to get started using samples, then kind of talk about being able to show them the top 3 quick starts, which we already do today, but in a different format, or access all the quick starts. But then we're also talking about being able to redirect you directly to some of our brand new flows through this What's New piece. And then in addition to that, kind of have more of a card-based area where, okay, here's our developer catalog, and these are all the different types of subcatalogs we have, and you can get into those quickly by clicking on them. Then what are our methodology, or how do I get to my calls to action around anything that's inside of Git, whether it's from a dev file or a Docker file, then our deploy the container image, and then not yet in source control. This is where we're going to have our import YAML, which we've also always had, but this is also where you'd see that CTA for upload a jar file. If you didn't want to do the drag and drop, this leads you to the same thing. And then we'd have individual cards for serverless or pipelines or any other operators that pull in things. And another thing that we talked about was that initially when this comes up, it's going to have all of that informative data about what each of these options are, but you could also shut the slide off. So all details goes off, and hopefully I go to the right spot. If you click that, there we go. Then it just becomes much more condensed again. So if you're an expert and you don't want to see all that data and you want to just be able to see everything kind of above the fold so you don't have to scroll, you can shut off some of that detail if you'd like to. The other thing is that we're also allowing the user to kind of remove that getting started card. So again, if you happen to be that expert or someone who's in OpenShift all the time and don't want to see this, there's an easy way to kind of get rid of that so that it doesn't stay inside of your view on that ad page going forward. So that's another place that, and this is what it would look like once it's removed. So that's another thing that we're looking at. Again, this is for 4.8, planned for 4.8, and aligned with how does a admin customize the developer experience. Admins will have the ability to say, if they don't want to allow deploy image, or if they don't want to allow I'll say databases here, they can come in here and they can remove some of these entry points from the ad page as well, which again is another thing that we have gotten requests from cluster admins from our customer sites. So just wanted to share those details as well.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
I like all the options that are going into the dashboard. There's like a real rich integration story and like a real rich experience, but it's also so much terminology and so much to learn and so much to interact with that it's really, really nice to be able to hide some of these or disable some of them for security reasons and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that is it on my side. I guess if I can, I'll share that link to the developer survey one more time.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll make sure that we
are coming in. And thanks to anybody who's already taken it. Appreciate that. And I don't know, do we want to maybe take a quick look at, I can pull up the other survey if we'd like to look and see what people have been talking about for topics, or are we good?
Do you have access to the results from that?
Pretty sure I do, if I can just take 1 second.
Couple ones we've had mentioned in the past. Let's see. We did a cool show on QIoT. that I really liked. Some of our other past favorites have been the console customization contest was really popular.
Yeah.
So this is our high level ones up top, right? Is just previews of upcoming features in OpenShift, getting started with language X, deep dive into technology Y or topic Z. That still seems pretty interesting. Development contests or bake-offs. You see 43% are saying 10%. Interactive workshops is at about the same level. Freeform Q&A time, I think that's kind of more of a mixed bag. And then some of these more the interested topics here. And I know that I had talked to one of them or a bunch of them here around Code Ready Workspaces. And I had talked to David Harris, who's our product manager now for Code Ready Workspaces. And we'd love to line something up with him around that, I think from a PM perspective as well. And then we also have, let's see, how to debug and view logs with serverless applications. I don't think we've done that yet.
No, we haven't.
That will be, yeah, I'm not sure who'd want to raise their hand for that one. That would be a good one.
I bet I can find somebody.
Yeah. All right, then we've got Code Ready Workspaces. Then we have media pipelines, serverless video / audio analysis or processing, learning Rust and or WASM. How do you, is that WASM? Is that what you say?
WebAssembly.
WASM. Oh gosh. I did not like that. Okay. I've always liked UI much better. So, okay. Okay, then we've got serverless. Then we have ground up deployment, maybe something configured to newbies, special case scenario, breaking down the process. Slow down capabilities built in. I love all that you guys bring to the table. Just a little tough sometimes getting my little knowledge of the software. It would be nice to have a suggested starting point going through the process.
So like a getting started episode.
Getting started, it sounds like, right? Feel better about following the expert advice of a Red Hat and cloud native community. Just a couple of thoughts. I'm getting more confident thanks to your team. So
awesome.
Yeah. So that's great. That's what we have in there today. So it looks like, let me reach out to David Harris and we can see what we can do with Code Ready Workspaces. We can see if we can get that lined up for maybe April-ish or end of March. And then Chris, maybe if you can find somebody.
Yeah, I just tagged somebody.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
Yeah. I mean, the logs are everything with debugging serverless apps, right? So, I mean, yes, you get an error code, but the logs mean a lot more.
Right.
All right. Well, cool. Awesome. Anything else? Anybody?
I think
Audience?
we followed the chat pretty well, right? We don't have anything outstanding there.
I didn't see anything else in chat. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Willie, definitely hit me up with that error you're getting. I have no idea why that's happening. But yes, please take the developer survey. We've dropped it several times through Google form. It will enlighten us, which will help us enlighten you, hopefully. The next show up on the channel is coming up here in a few minutes. It's an OpenShift Commons briefing with the folks from Cockroach TV talking about how to do geographically distributed Cockroach TV, which is, always a hard problem. Anything database geographically distributed is a challenge. So I look forward to watching this one.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, thanks again to everyone in chat today. Thanks to Adam B. Kaplan for the link to the Silverblue issue. I'll look into that. And I will.
Adam put out, I think last week, a great way to run Plex inside OpenShift. I thought that was pretty cool. I read that article, saw the repo, so thank you for that, Adam. Yeah, anyways, just wanted to save that shout out for you, buddy.
Yeah, awesome.
and yeah, join us in 5 minutes for the Cockroach DB briefing. And yeah, Kenneth McLennan will be on from Cockroach Lab, so that should be pretty cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Serena, from the future, and thank you, Ryan, for showing us how well Silverblue crashes.
Oops. Sorry about that. It does work great on our major release platforms, Linux, OS X, and Windows. Try it on the officially supported release architectures and OSs instead of trying to hack around like I do with Silverblue, at least in terms of code-ready containers as it is today. Yeah.
And I am actually reinstalling code-ready containers on this laptop because I hadn't installed it yet somehow, some reason. I'm sure I've put it on boxes elsewhere behind me, but yeah, I will definitely.
Yeah. 4.7 is now available with the latest, as of last week, the new releases of code-ready containers. So yeah, definitely give it a look.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you to the audience, and have a good one.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
See ya.